Hey everyone, and welcome. If you've ever written even a single line of Java, you've definitely used the string class. But here's a question. Are you sure you're using it the right way, especially when you need to modify text over and over? Today, we're going to break down three core Java classes: string, StringBuffer, and StringBuilder, so you can be confident you're always picking the right tool for the job.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by peeling back the curtain on the regular old string class to find a hidden characteristic. Then, we'll meet its more flexible cousins. After that, we'll put them head-to-head on performance and this thing called thread safety. By the end, you'll know exactly which one to reach for in any situation.
All right, first up, the immutable string. The string class, it feels so simple, so reliable, almost perfect. But that very perfection, its core design, can actually be a secret performance killer in your application if you're not paying attention.
I mean, come on, we've all written this exact line of code a million times. It seems so simple, right? You're just tacking hello world onto the end of your string. But what is Java actually doing under the hood? Well, it's a little more complicated than it looks, and it all comes down to one key concept.
And that concept is immutability. See, in Java, a string object is immutable. That means once it's created, it can never, ever be changed. The best way to think about it is like a stone tablet. Once you've carved your message into the stone, that's it. You can't just erase a word and carve a new one. If you want to change the message, you have to grab a whole new slab of rock and carve a completely new tablet.
So let's connect the dots. When you write myString plus world, Java isn't editing your original string. It's actually creating a brand new, bigger string object in memory that holds the combined text. Then it just points your variable to this new object. Now imagine doing that inside a loop 1,000 times. You're not making 1,000 edits, you're creating 1,000 separate temporary objects. And that, my friends, is a huge waste of memory and CPU time.
Okay, so if creating all those new stone tablets is the problem, what's the solution? Well, for exactly these situations, where you need to modify strings a lot, Java gives us two powerful alternatives: meet StringBuffer and StringBuilder.
So let's go back to our analogy for a second. If a string is that permanent stone tablet, then StringBuffer and StringBuilder are like a whiteboard. You can write on it, erase a little bit, add some more text over here, and you're doing it all on the same whiteboard. You don't need to grab a new one every single time you make a change.
This ability to be changed in place has a name. It's called mutability, and it's a game changer. By modifying the existing object directly, you completely avoid the cost of creating all those temporary objects. This is the secret sauce behind why these builder classes are so much more efficient for string manipulation.
Okay, so we get it, they're more efficient in theory. But let's talk about real-world performance. Because this is where the difference goes from, oh, that's interesting, to, whoa, okay, I get it now. It's really a tale of three very, very different speeds.
So the big question is, are we talking about a small, barely noticeable improvement? Or is this a massive, game-changing difference? Just how much faster are we talking when you really start hammering on these things?
And wow, the difference is absolutely staggering. Look at this chart. That giant bar shooting up to the sky, that's what happens when you try to append to a string 10,000 times in a loop. And those two tiny little slivers down at the bottom that you can barely even see, that's StringBuffer and StringBuilder. The performance gain isn't just a little better, it's on a completely different planet.
All right, so it's crystal clear. For modifying strings, the builders are the way to go. But wait a minute. Why are there two of them? This brings us to the final showdown, the key difference that helps us choose between them: StringBuffer versus StringBuilder. And that difference boils down to one thing: thread safety. So what is that? Well, a piece of code is thread safe if multiple processes, or threads, can use it at the exact same time without tripping over each other and messing up the data. Think of a busy intersection. Without a traffic controller, you'd have chaos, crashes, gridlock. In programming, thread safety is that traffic controller. And that leads us to the fundamental trade-off. StringBuffer is thread safe. It has that built-in traffic controller, a mechanism called synchronization. StringBuilder, on the other hand, is not thread safe. It gets a speed boost because it doesn't have to deal with the overhead of managing all that traffic. So what does this actually mean for you day to day? Well, it means that for the vast majority of cases, we're talking 99% of the time, when you're just building a string inside a single method where no other threads are involved, you should always reach for StringBuilder. You get all the speed without paying the performance price for a safety feature you just don't need.
Okay, let's wrap this all up.
Now that we understand the what and the why, we can put together a super simple decision guide that will help you pick the perfect tool for the task every single time. No more guesswork.
Here it is, your 3-step mental checklist. First, ask yourself, is the string value going to change at all? If the answer is no, just stick with string. It's simple, it's reliable, done. If it is going to change, you move to the next question. Will it be changed by multiple threads at the same time? If the answer is no, which it usually is, your default choice is the speed demon StringBuilder. Only if the answer to that question is yes, do you need that extra safety from StringBuffer. It's that simple.
And this table right here is the perfect cheat sheet. It sums it all up. String, immutable, safe, but slow for changes. StringBuilder, mutable, super fast, but not thread safe. And StringBuffer, mutable, thread safe, but a little bit slower because of it.
At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. Knowing your tools is what separates a good programmer from a great one. Understanding when to use a simple string versus a string builder isn't just a piece of trivia. It's about writing clean, efficient, professional code that runs well.
So, I'll leave you with this little challenge. With what you've learned today, go take a look at your own projects. I bet you can find a spot, maybe in a loop somewhere, where the wrong tool is hiding, where a simple string is chugging along, just waiting to be swapped out for a lightning-fast string builder. Go find it. Thanks for joining me.